All right. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Thank you for joining me here. Things out of the way. Here we go. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Really excited here to talk to you for the next half an hour, 45 minutes or so about this new product called the MX Gateway, which is essentially going to finally get our Bluetooth data loggers out to the cloud in near real time. I see some of you guys are still coming in here, so just to touch on some of the, I guess, the house cleaning stuff first. I am going to be recording this, so there will be a recording available afterwards. Usually there is an email sent out with the recording attached to it. As we go along here, please feel free to type in your questions. I'll try to hit them as we go. If not, there is time at the end, so we can take a deeper dive if there's something that I didn't cover during the presentation. If you're not familiar with Onset Computer and who we are and what we do, we make the Hobo data loggers. Our sole focus is on data logging and monitoring. We've been in business since 1981. We are located in Bourne, which is on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And we are an ISO 9001-2015 certified company. Me, that's me. I'm a product marketing manager here. I've probably spent about 13 years as an application specialist on the sales side of things, and then moved over to product marketing, where I focus on a lot of the indoor products and the Bluetooth products, and obviously this gateway here. So looking forward to diving into some more detail about this product here. So the agenda, I just want to touch on Bluetooth a little bit for those of you who may be new and who have not used our Bluetooth loggers yet, and then look at some of the key features of the gateway, look at the logger compatibility. There's a couple things I want to talk about there. Then we'll dive into how does the gateway actually work, and how do you set it up, and how do you get the loggers working with it. Some of the common applications that we've heard so far and some of the requests that have come in over the years, we'll just touch on those. And then feel free to, definitely stay around to the end. We'll give you a sneak peek to what's coming out later on this year. We've got a couple new Bluetooth coming out, Bluetooth loggers coming out. And then, of course, as I said, feel free to type in questions as we go here, and we will touch on those at the end. So if you haven't heard of IoT, it's called the Internet of Things, and it is here. It is in just about everything today. You see all the commercials for the smart cars, and you go into the big box store and you see your refrigerator that tells you that you need milk. It's absolutely in your thermostats. It's in everything nowadays. The growth of the Internet of Things, they're estimating by, it's hard to believe that 2020 is next year, but there's going to be over 50 billion devices that are going to be connected, or exceed that by the end of next year. And you can see where this really kind of ramped up in around 2010, 2011, and it's really kind of taken off from there. And there's kind of a specific reason for that. There was a new Bluetooth technology that came out probably in earlier 2010, but really it was adopted by Apple in 2011, called Bluetooth Low Energy. At one point it was called Bluetooth Smart. It's also called Bluetooth 4, and nowadays it's up to Bluetooth 5. But it's a little bit of a different technology than what the Bluetooth was previous to that. And really it kind of caught on when Apple decided that they were going to put it into everything that they were doing moving forward. And it started with the iPhone 4S and the new iPads and iPad minis at that time, and they were sticking them into the MacBook Pros as well. And since that time, the rest of the universe has kind of caught on. Android was kind of the next to support that. And then, well, Windows is finally starting to catch up. So, but what's the difference? What's the difference between Bluetooth Low Energy versus the classic Bluetooth 2.0? Your classic Bluetooth, the classic Bluetooth is a master device that needed to be paired with a slave device. So basically, you would have to scan and then find something discoverable in order to connect to it to establish communications. So you'd have something like your Bose speakers here, where you'd have to push a button, and then this would start saying, "I'm here," and then you would scan on your phone, and you would open up the Bluetooth app, and then finally you'd have to tap on that and connect to it. Now, that's kind of nice. You can stream music, or you could do the old school headset in your ear, and all that sort of fun stuff, but you could really only have one thing connected at a time here. Okay, that was weird. Sorry about that. So in terms of the Bluetooth Smart or Bluetooth Low Energy, what these do is they continuously send out their presence, letting other things know that they are there and within range. And that's kind of really that's really been the biggest transition here, is that no longer did you have to pair to just a single device. You could have what they call a beacon, or in our case, a gateway that just sits there, and it's going to listen to all these Bluetooth devices, all these Bluetooth low energy devices sending out these things. It's like, you almost picture it as like somebody up at a room and they're asking questions, and they're just, everything's coming into this person and they're just grabbing everything. So really, it's kind of changed the way that the world has worked in terms of connected devices. And that's really where I see the MX Gateway is sort of becoming the streaming content for the Hobo data loggers. And so I kind of want to take a look here at the difference between, at least from what I see, is between streaming Bluetooth measurements versus downloading logged data. And this kind of came up when I was driving to Maine about a month ago. And you go through New Hampshire and you have these new traffic booths. And then when you hit Maine, you have these old traffic booths. And I found it it was interesting. So basically, there's no stopping. There's no individual conversations. Everything's flying through here at high speed, and hundreds of measurements are sent to the cloud at once. Whereas if you look at it from downloading a data logger, they're individually processed. It's a single conversation, so you can only download one at a time. No exact change leads to longer conversations. So if for whatever reason you happen to lose a Bluetooth connection, you had to reconnect. They actually do give you a welcome to Maine magnet when you go up there Memorial Day weekend. And you get to have a nice day, and then next. So really the key here with the gateway is that you don't have these individual conversations anymore, or these downloads of the loggers. So you're going to have everything kind of streaming through in near real time. Basically, the data gets sent up to HOBOlink every minute. That's what we're kind of defining as real time. You have the ability to set alarm notifications. So if a sensor goes outside of range, if a logger happens to stop, if a logger goes missing, if your battery's running low on your logger, or even if a gateway stops communicating. So whether that loses an internet connection and it's been offline for a period of time, you will get an alarm notification. The gateway does need to be within 100 feet line of sight of the loggers. It has Wi-Fi or Ethernet communications built into the same unit. It's AC powered, or you can power it over Ethernet. It's compatible with the MX loggers. And essentially, in deploying this along with your Bluetooth loggers, you're going to reduce the number of trips that you need to make out to the field to offload your data. In terms of the HOBOlink features, what you're going to get out of the cloud, you're going to get a dashboard for data visualization. The exports, basically, you can create one file over a specific time frame for all of the data loggers that you want, versus prior to, let's say you're downloading 20 loggers, you need to manage those 20 different files individually and then combine those somehow if you're putting them into a big report. You also have the ability to set up automated data delivery. So that can be emailed to you, or you can send that off to an FTP or secure FTP site. We also do have an API. So if you want machines essentially talking to each other, so your server would be grabbing from our server, that is available. There's unlimited storage for the life of the HOBOlink account. And again, you can receive alerts via email or SMS text messages. So let's take a look at the logger compatibility. So first, looking at our two traditional loggers that are what we define as the indoor space. Now, what I'll say is this gateway is not weatherproof. It's meant to be indoors. Again, it's AC powered, and it can't get wet. And traditionally, you would use these loggers with this gateway. And so it gives you the ability to measure temperature and humidity, and then obviously carbon dioxide with temperature and humidity with the logger on the right. Now, this is where we start to get creative, where we have our MX 2300 series, which is a line of weatherproof loggers. Now, why would I be positioning this? Well, in some cases, and actually I've got one of these set up outside on my deck right now, is that when I get up in the morning, because it's starting to get cold here back on the Cape, as September and October start to roll around, I want to see what the temperature is when I get up in the morning. So basically I have a dashboard set up so I can see what's going on. And I have this weatherproof logger outside that's probably about 25, 30 feet outside or away from the gateway. And that data is being sent in. Now, what I also used is earlier this summer, we have a portable pool that we set up. And of course, for my daughter, it was very important for her to understand if it was warm enough for her to go in the pool. So we actually set up a dashboard, and we took this logger here, the 2304 model, and we ran the probe into the bottom of the pool so that she could pull up on her phone a dashboard, and she could see not only what the bottom of the pool temperature was, but we were also using another logger for the top of the pool temperature. Got to please the kids, right? Now, this is our waterproof series of loggers, and you're going to say, wait, what? You just said Bluetooth can't communicate through water, and we understand that. The reason why I bring these loggers up is because they're used in just about all different types of applications. It's a more rugged logger. They have replaceable batteries, and the price point is pretty attractive. Plus, if you're also looking for general light levels, you have the combination logger that gives you both temperature and light measurements for $69. So again, these can be used in industrial applications or indoor applications or even outside applications, but they just can't be used underwater to work with the gateway. And finally, I'll bring these two up, and these are actually other applications that, as I was testing the gateway over the course of the summer, I found actually some decent applications for these. And we've had some requests that have come in. But for the pH and temperature logger, that was actually at the top of my pool. Half of it was sticking out of the pool, and I was able to get basically the surface temperature and the pH readings, and that was continually throwing data out to the gateway. And then also for my garden, I basically collect the rainwater into a large 50-gallon drum. And what I was able to use was the water level logger. And what's neat about the water level logger is that smaller part is actually the point that needs to be in the water. And then the longer part, I have that strapped up to the top of the gutter actually coming down. So that's out in the air. And essentially, that could communicate back to the gateway, since that wasn't underwater. So we also had some requests over the years for lab environments. We're here right down the street from Woods Hole. We've heard from a lot of fisheries that want to look at water level and water temperature by putting the probes into the water, but keeping the logger out of the water, and then get that data remotely. And so these are some creative things that you'll be able to start to do with this gateway and with the different types of measurements that we currently offer. So just because we market a logger a particular way doesn't mean it can't be used in a different type of application if needed. So again, the range, sorry, there was just a question that came in. So the Bluetooth range is still 100 feet. So to get from the logger to the gateway, again, if you're going to be looking at using the pH logger, the top part of it, so I'd say from right here, from the onset logo up, needs to be out of the water in order for it to communicate. So just take that into consideration if you were to use it with the gateway. So how does the gateway work? Well, this is kind of simplified, but initially you're going to set up an account. You're going to connect your gateway to Wi-Fi or Ethernet. You're going to configure your loggers to work with the gateway. You're going to place your loggers within 100 feet, and voila, your data starts going to the cloud. But let's get into a little more. Let's get into a little more detail about that. So setting up a HOBOlink account. If you're not familiar with HOBOlink.com, when you come into the app, you'll need to download the version 2.01 version of Hobo Mobile. And I will say it's only out for iOS right now. The Android version will be coming out in another few weeks, so stay tuned for the Android folks there. But when you open up the app, you tap on the Gateways tab, and then you have the ability, if you haven't set up a HOBOlink account, you can set up a HOBOlink account by tapping this. It'll actually open up a web browser on your phone, and then you can go through and basically sign up for an account, put in your, create a username and password, and all that sort of fun stuff, and then basically register with HOBOlink. Now, if you've already have an account, or once you've set this up, you're basically just going to come back and tap on use MX gateways. And then from there, you're going to be prompted to put in your HOBOlink username and password, which we've done here. And then it goes through, and what it does is it authenticates the HOBOlink. And then once that authenticates, it brings you back to the settings screen, where then you're able to say, what do I want my default action to be when I do something with one of my loggers. Now, obviously in this case, since I'm setting everything up for a gateway, all of my loggers that I want to set up moving forward, I do want to set up as a gateway. And I'll show you can actually override this in the configure screen, and I'll show that to you in just a second. So connecting to the MX gateway and setting it up for Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So once you've gone through that setup, then you go back to the gateway screen, and it's going to start scanning for devices. It'll show you the devices that are within range. And in this particular case, this gateway was not configured yet. You tap on it to connect. And then there's some things that it's going to start to tell you. So in this particular case, there was 106 loggers that were potentially in range. But next, what you're going to do is set up your network settings. And so we tap on this. We're going to set up Wi-Fi. If you're connecting your gateway to the Wi-Fi network that your mobile device happens to be on, it will automatically populate the network name for you. And then you just need to put in the password, so it makes it a little easier on setting everything up. For the Ethernet side of things, It defaults to DHCP. And if you do need to put in the specific IP address and subnet and all that sort of fun stuff, DNS server, you do have the ability to put in all that information as well. Once you've done that, you come back and hit configure. And then at this point, you do have the ability to change the name of your gateway from the default serial number to something that makes sense to you. And then essentially hit start. Now, there is an LED that's on the gateway that I'm not able to show how that works, but the manual will describe how that works. But essentially, once it has connected to the internet and it's seeing HOBOlink, everything it has a solid green light for you. Now, in terms of setting up the configuring your loggers, there's not that much more you really need to do. As usual, you're going to set the name and set up your logging interval and set your start and your stop options. And if you want to add an alarm in here, but basically it comes down to this very last setting here is, do you want to upload your data to HOBOlink? And do you want to do that from a download through Hobo Mobile, or do you want to upload that to from the gateway? And so when you're working with the gateway, obviously you want to put that in. Again, if you set that as your default in the settings, it'll automatically be checked here when you go to set up your logger. From there, you hit start, and now your configuration gets sent up to HOBOlink, and now that gateway knows to talk to that particular logger out in the field. And as you continue to add more and more loggers, they will know to talk to those gateways that are associated with that particular account. Now, a question came up is, what if I have a scenario where I have two gateways, or, you know, let's say I have a logger and I don't want it to talk to that particular gateway. Of course, you can uncheck the upload data from gateway. So basically that configuration is not being sent up to the cloud. Or what if I have two gateways that go to two separate accounts in HOBOlink? Then essentially you'll want to have account A and have those loggers associated with that, and then account B and loggers associated with that. So there is some management there. There was another question that came in. What if there's not, like, for example, here at onset, I wasn't able to monitor our entire building because with one gateway, mainly because we have a server room that is right in the heart of onset. And so all that metal and servers and all that other stuff, I couldn't get to some of the loggers. So essentially I have two gateways that are on the same network, and they are connecting to all of the loggers that I have set up here. I've got about 30 loggers set up in the office. And some of the loggers go back and forth between the two gateways, but essentially the cloud kind of handles all that. So to answer your question, yes, you can add in multiple gateways into a system if you need to extend that network, or if you're not getting the range that you expect. And I'll dive into some of the range stuff here at the end when we get into the questions, because I know that's definitely a large question in terms of what this can do. So again, you place your logger out here. Oh, I guess I just jumped ahead. So, you know, essentially you've got a 100-foot radius there. You certainly can use multiple gateways. The questions in terms of will it communicate through glass? Yeah, it certainly will, but I think it depends upon how thick the glass is. So for example, you know, I've just got standard, I don't know, what is it, the 400 series windows from Anderson or whatever, you know, and I've got some of these out in my backyard that are easily 50 to 75 feet away from the gateway, you know, either communicating through a window or through a wall. You know, some of this is going to depend upon, you know, the thickness of doors, the thickness of walls. I think traditional offices, something like ours is just we're all just sheetrock here, so they're obviously going to communicate further than, if you're trying to go through concrete walls and other things like that. So, there's definitely some things to take into consideration, when you start to do this. It's like anything wireless. If you don't get a Wi-Fi signal through something, it's pretty much going to be about the same, if looking at the Bluetooth here. So, and then in terms of looking at your data and what goes on in HOBOlink, this is an example of a dashboard. So you can set up a bunch of widgets here. You can have gas gauges and thermometers, and you can overlay graphs. You can look at the data over the past day, the past week, or the past month. So there's definitely a number of different things that you can do. You can set up the 10 different dashboards in your account. You can actually make these public as well. So if you want to create a dashboard, for example, I'll pick on them. Our folks in accounting here were complaining that they were always too cold. So the 4 loggers that I had in their particular area, I set up a dashboard specifically for them so that they could see that, well, the temperature was actually a pretty constant 72 degrees, but I'm not going to argue with them because they give me my expense checks. But anyways, those are some things that you can do to give people some access to some of the data that you're collecting here, and so that they can see what's going on in real time. I talked a little bit about the alarms for the different things that you can set up here. So again, you can come through and add a new alarm, and you can set multiple alarms for the same gateway and send it to different people. You just keep basically adding these in here. So if you had, 5 people that you needed to send a particular alert to, you can. And again, that can be done through SMS, text messaging, or email. In terms of downloading the data, this is just an example of an export that I created. So I had a bunch of MX 1101s that basically I have the data being offloaded, or it gives me the past 6 hours worth of data in an Excel format. You can also get that in a CSV format, or if you still work with HOBOware, which I know many folks do, you can download it as a HOBOware CSV format, and then you can import this data directly into HOBOware. So there's definitely some options there for you as well. Data delivery. You can schedule an export so that it's automatically sent to you to an email address or an FTP site. So basically, you'd come in and create an export report that you would want to send, and then you'd say schedule this every so often, and then again you can send it to an FTP or an email address, and that will automatically show up for you. There's an API service that we offer as well. Sometimes folks have their own databases that they want to just suck this information into. We use a web service that's called REST, and basically that data can be sent out in different formats such as Excel, CSV, HOBOware CSV, or what they call a JSON format. So for you web programmers out there, you can certainly get the data that way as well. We do have the information on that on our website, or you can reach out to our tech support folks, and they'd be able to get you set up with that sort of stuff there. I see the questions coming in. Please keep them coming. I will hit on a bunch of these as I get towards the end. So a lot of good things here, a lot of good content that we'll definitely dive into. So keep them coming. Common applications, these are just some of the things that we've heard about and requests. You know, really people who want to be able to get this data remotely. And a lot of this comes back to some of the facility management, you know, in places where you don't want to potentially disturb the person that might be living there. So you might be a property owner. Prisons, for example, actually come up. Animal health, looking at zoos, apartment buildings, dorm rooms, the good old hot yoga studio. You know, there's a bunch of these here that, you know, are perfect applications to make sure that the comfort of that space is where it needs to be, and you can get this data, you know, remotely. We also hear a lot from museums and private collections, grow facilities now that those seem to be popping up more and more in the states where things are getting legalized. We hear a lot from hardwood floors, you know, and same with high-end, you know, residential homes and you know, apartment buildings that, you know, they may put a bunch of money in there, they may not sell them right away, and if the HVAC system isn't set up correctly, that could lead to mold, or it could lead to totally drying out you know, a hardwood floor, thus having to go in and you know, redoing that. So just some applications that we've kind of been hearing about here. So in summary, that's pretty much the gateway. You're looking at getting near real-time measurements to the dashboard. Again, you can receive the alerts. It needs to be within 100 feet line of sight. And again, I'll touch on, there's a couple scenarios there where you can actually go further, but I'll touch on that with the questions here. In the same box, you get Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So they're both there. You just get to choose how you want to work with it. And again, talked about the compatibility with the MX loggers. Now, speaking of that, we've got 2 new loggers that are going to be coming out towards the end of the year. We're finally going to be expanding the product line here. And some of you who are familiar with the older product called the U12-012, which is a TempRH Lite external input, that will be coming out, as well as a 4-channel input. And what that's going to do is really open up the range of measurements that we're going to be able to work with the gateway. So you'll now be able to take measurements such as AC current, voltage, DC voltage. 4 to 20 milliamps means that you can hook up to third-party sensors. So if you see something here that does not, you know, sort of meet your measurement here, you can go out and find a third-party sensor and plug it in to one of these loggers. Some of the new features that will be a part of this product line is, and to answer the first question, yes, all of your existing temperature probes, CTs, all those TMC cables, all the CTVs, all of the existing input cables, those will be compatible with the new logger. But on top of that, we are bringing in some new sensors. They're actually going to be self-describing. So when you plug them in, there's no more reprogramming of the channel. If you plug in a 50 amp CT, the scaling is automatically set to 50 amps. There's also going to be a locking mechanism on here so they don't fall out. We've heard that that's been issues. It's a more rugged design, so it's more splash proof at IP54. There's audible and visual alarm notifications if a sensor happens to get unplugged, or if you didn't plug it in correctly and you start the logger will beep at you until you have it plugged in right. There's a ton more memory that the logger can actually hold, 4 million measurements. And it is one of our more accurate loggers. I don't have a price point at this point. We're still kind of in development stage of this, although we're getting close to wrapping it up here. So it will be hopefully a nice Thanksgiving, Christmas present. if the development gods look nicely upon us. So stay tuned. There will be a lot more coming out about this product as time goes along here. So one of the questions that came in both through the internal training that I've done already is, have we tested any mobile hotspots for cellular connectivity? And yes, so there was one of my beta sites that I had in a car storage garage over in Mashpee here. I ended up going to Best Buy and got the cheapest hotspot I could find for 30 bucks. It was made by this company, Unreal Mobile. I guess it's a Netgear product, and Unreal is the cellular carrier. It's a pay-as-you-go plan. It was 10 bucks a month for a gig of data. Running 28 loggers, they were sending data once a minute from all those loggers, and basically it used anywhere from 250 megabytes to 500 megabytes a month. So that certainly could be a low-cost option for you if you want to connect it up to cellular. We also we use the Verizon MiFis for all of our trade shows, and so any of the shows that we've done, these things always hook up to those as well. So for those of you who may be looking to get around our friendly IT people, depending upon what building you're in, this might be a good option for you. So sorry to any IT folks who might be out there. We love you. Thank you for keeping us going. So let's look at some questions here. Let me just expand this screen and give me 1 second. While I'm doing that, a little bit of information here. In terms of contact information, there's my information, but also our product application specialists, the people who you want to talk to here are Sean Kelly, Matt Sharp, and Shannon. Those three guys will be able to answer any questions on this stuff here for you. So let's take a look at what we got here. Yeah, so again, on the pH and the water level loggers, it's not a true outdoor application. It's going to be more of a corner case type application where it's a borderline, you know, the product can be out of the water and in range of the gateway that is an indoor environment, and it's plugged into AC power. How much? Okay, so a lot around the different line of sight, 100-foot specification. A lot of it has to do with, you know, what's kind of really going on. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've got 122 of these around my house right now, both inside and outside. They continue to send data up every minute from all of those loggers. I have some that are very, very questionable locations, placement specifically by me because I wanted to see how they were going to work. And in some cases, they work fine. And in other cases, when we have heavy rainfall events or downpours, the data will not come through. So those are some things that you're going to have to take into consideration. Again, you know, I have one that I was trying to communicate basically from the basement through 2 cement walls, through a fireplace, and then go 20 feet outside, and that didn't work. So there are some things that you're going to have to take a look at, you know, as you go to sort of set these things up. So in terms of the memory on the loggers themselves, now, as I've said, sometimes some data points may get missed by the gateway. So you do have the data that's still going to be on the logger itself. For those of you who might be worried about going at a faster logging interval, but but don't want to go out and restart your loggers all the time, there's a feature called wrap when full. And so, for example, let's say you're logging every minute, and you know, the logger can run for about 45 days. If you put it on a wrap when full, basically that's going to run continuously, and you'll have the most current 45 days of data on the logger. But what that'll do is continually send that data up to the cloud, but it'll keep it from the logger actually stopping. So in terms of older loggers, is everything compatible? Yes. So from day one of the first MX 1101 that came out, they will be compatible with the gateway. You don't need to purchase new products, although if you want to, we appreciate it. The one thing that you will have to do, and it's only one logger, it's the MX 1101 actually does need a firmware update. And so one of the things that we are going to do in the app, so that you don't run into the bug that we discovered, is that if you are going to use the 1101 with a gateway, we actually force you to go through the firmware update prior to you setting that up and letting it go with the gateway. But yes, all of the other loggers will be compatible. Can more than one person access a gateway at the same time? So that's going to really come back to how you manage things in HOBOlink, or in the cloud, actually. So you're not actually communicating to the gateway itself. The gateway is listening to the Bluetooth measurements, which it grabs them, and then it throws it up to HOBOlink. So if you want to have multiple people looking at the data, you can set up a dashboard and then create a public view. So basically that you can send that URL, so it basically gives them a view-only look at the data. Or if they're responsible for some of those alerts, you can send it. You can set up a out of range alert to go to their text message or email if you know, if they need that information. So can dashboards run on a mobile device directly receive data without going to the... Let me circle back to that one. Oh, okay. Yeah, so can the HOBOlink dashboard running on a mobile device directly receive data from the BLE loggers without going to the internet via the gateway? Yes. So that's actually the other option. Now you do need to be within range of the data logger itself. And you basically need to do a manual offload of the data to your mobile device. And then you can use that other option that says upload data to HOBOlink, and that would come right out of the app. Now, the difference there is that that data is only going to be as current as the last time you went out to download it. So I don't know how well that may or may not work for you. You know, if you're going out and doing weekly downloads, you know, that data is going to be, in some cases, you know, stale by a week. So something to think about there. The gateway does have memory. It does have internal memory. So if there is an interruption to the Wi-Fi network or the internet goes down, we had lovely Comcast go out for about 6 hours a couple weeks back, and you know, when everything came back up, the data automatically went up. We will be sending out there'll be a follow-up email with this presentation. At this point, okay, so are you able to capture pulse information to track building energy? At this point, we don't have a Bluetooth logger that will do pulse information. So that's something that we're still looking at here. So if I want to move a logger from one gateway to a gateway in a different account in a different location, how does that happen? So the way that that happens is that you're going to stop the data logger in the first location, and then what you're going to do is on your mobile device, you would need to put in the new account for HOBOlink. So I'm assuming you're using two different HOBOlink accounts there. And then you would restart or reconfigure that data logger with the new account information, and then that will associate it with the different account and different gateway. So one of the things that we did here was that myself and 6 development engineers, we all shared the same HOBOlink account. So my account probably has close to 250 loggers in it that's coming in from 6 different gateways, from loggers that are here at the onset building to everything that I have at my house to 2 of the developers' houses and a couple other areas and stuff like that. So depending upon how you want to manage that, you can either have everybody use the same HOBOlink login information, or you can set up different accounts. So kind of up to you on that. For folks who've been working with the old application, if it's not showing the options for gateways, well, what you're going to want to do is do an update. Right now, the only one that's available is for iOS, and Android will be coming later. So stay tuned. But once you do that update to the 2.0, you will begin getting that information. Yes, it is possible to set up both classes of notifications. So if you want to receive both an email and an SMS, you can set it up both ways. You just need to set it up twice. So we have somebody that's using 3 CO2 loggers and are placing them in the separate areas, floors, and office spaces to track the temperature, humidity, and CO2. What's involved in getting these uploaded to the cloud. So essentially, I'd say what I would do is give Sean, Matt, or Shannon a call. They would be more than happy to sort of step through and kind of explain the setup. We just need to understand what your office area looks like and maybe the distance, and then we can determine, the best way to, understand how that, figure out the best way to go about the application, and, if one gateway will cover it or maybe a couple of them, and kind of go through that. So no, this is a good question, Colleen. Do you have to be within 100 feet of the gateway to access the data? So you do. So if you're using, if you have 4 separate buildings that you need to monitor that are literally miles away from each other in differently physical locations, yes, you do need to have a gateway at each of those locations. So the gateway needs to be within 100 feet of the data loggers in order to get that information up to the cloud. Now, again, if you want to manage all that within the same HOBOlink account, you certainly can. You would just set up all 4 gateways and all of the data loggers with the same username and password. And if I didn't explain that right, reach out to one of the guys here, and they can help you out there. The maximum number of loggers that can be connected to one gateway. Josh, that's a good question, man. Right now, I have pushed up to 150. My goal, and my family's going to love me, but I'd like to get it out to around 250. You know, at the end of the day, when you're looking at a 100-foot radius, having that many loggers in one location is probably not realistic. You know, I could certainly see where, you know, you might be getting in the ranges of like 50 units or something like that, depending upon what you're doing. But I mean, I've got these things literally everywhere. But it's good to know. I mean, you know, like here at Onset, you know, at any given time, we've got 400 loggers that are up and running. Now, granted, they're not all set up to be working with a gateway, but from what we can tell, there's really kind of no limitations there. You know, so I'd say tentatively 200. Haven't tested it yet, but you know, the speculation is that it can probably go 2-3 times that. But again, that's a lot of loggers in a you know, what is that, 3,100 square foot radius. So. All right, I think I have covered everything here. So again, I want to say thank you. You know, we're really excited to, you know, to have this product out there. It is currently shipping. So definitely, you know, feel free to reach out. I'll send you guys the link to the webpage here. So, you know, if you're looking to get one right away, you can buy it online. Sorry, shameless promotion. But again, if you want to speak to somebody, you know, I'm not necessarily always on the phones here as I'm kind of doing product management, but Sean and Matt and Shannon, those are definitely good folks to talk to, our application specialists. Our USB loggers will not upload to the cloud. Sorry, there's no way to get from A to B. Sorry, Jeff. Well, welcome to the dark side. Come on over to Bluetooth. So thank you again. I appreciate it. And, you know, we look forward to seeing you guys again. Stay tuned. Like I said, these 2 loggers are coming soon. So, you know, if you don't see the measurements that you want today, stay tuned. The holidays will be bringing us some new toys. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever you're at. And yeah, thanks.